Hello everyone and welcome to our video. We are group 6 of the International Transaction class, and today we are going to analyze a specific transaction between the two companies in Hong Kong and Bangladesh. We will show you how the transaction and the export procedures are carried out, analyze terms in the contract, and some documents required in this transaction. Through analyzing a contract in another part of the world, the video would provide you with a better understanding of how a commercial contract works internationally. This contract was made on February 15, 2022, with the two companies getting involved in the transaction. The seller is Jiash Resources from Hong Kong, and the buyer is Star Packaging and Accessory. The contract was made and entered into by both parties at Jinzhou District, Ningbo, Zhejiang Province, China. The commodity in this contract is 100 MT of the water softener resin. Now we move on to analyze terms in this commercial contract between the two companies. The first stakeholder, the seller, Jiash Resources Limited. Jiash Resources Limited is a Jiangxing-based foreign trade company which was founded on 28 June 2022. The company is a joint venture of Jiangxing Industrial Investment Group Company Limited, China-based Ningbo Group Company Limited, and Ningbo Lianxi Enterprise Management Partnership. The company is committed to build an innovative, comprehensive, and diversified trading company in the core area of the Yangtze River Delta to help and escort the development of small and medium-sized foreign trade companies in Jiangxing. By the end of 2020, it has accomplished sales volume to 1.6 billion RMB, total value of import and export up to 60 million USD, with main products of petroleum, petrochemical, iron, steel, and soft commodities. Now we will move to the second stakeholder, the buyer, Star Packaging and Accessory Limited. It is a company specialized in manufacturing, import, and export of chemicals and water-related products. The company was founded in 2017 and is currently located in Newfamari, Bangladesh. By the end of 2021, the company has made a total import shipment value of 20 million USD, with the main import markets being Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Thailand. The major imported products are plastic products made from propylene, ethylene, and polyethylene. About the product, water softener resin. Resin is a material used in water softeners to facilitate the process of ion exchange that collects the hard water minerals from your water. The proper functioning of a water softener depends on the effective use of resin. There are two main types of resin bed used in water softener: fine mesh and traditional one. In this transaction, the seller, Jiash Resources, has agreed to sell traditional resin to the buyer, Star Packaging and Accessory. In this particular contract, the commodity and specification is listed as polypropylene Y3H1H and polypropylene H39S with the HS code of 39021 and 30. According to the China Customs, this particular commodity bears no export duty but has 13% export tax. The good bear another 5% import duty by Bangladesh Customs. Quality and quantity. The quantity of the product is 100 MT with 5% more or less. This is a large shipment and would need multiple containers to transport. We can see that both companies have made a good relationship with each other in order to conduct this contract, and both need to carry out this contract with care. The quality is stated in the contract as per manufacturer's sales specification. The price per unit is 1,440 per MT, and the total price of the goods in the transaction is 144,000 US$. Later in the commercial invoice, the price is listed at FOB value of 126,780 plus 17,220 freight charge. And about the shipment, the carrier is Sea Landmarks. Sealand Asia is one of the biggest shipping companies in the world, carrying out many transportation processes in the Americas, Asia, Oceania, Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. The company is powered by regional experts at Maersk and is trusted by many global companies, including both the buyer and seller. The delivery term is CFR Chittagong, Bangladesh Incoterm 2020. CFR is only applicable for waterway and ocean shipment, so it is suitable for this contract. The seller is responsible for paying local freight charge, terminal handling charge, export taxes, and ocean freight charges. The buyer is responsible for any costs after the goods have been transported to the destination port. However, the risk transfers when the goods have been loaded on board the shipping vessel, in this case Agent Ace. So why we use CFR? CFR is exclusive for ocean freight shipping. The seller is located in China with access to many trustworthy global carriers. In this case, Sealand Asia, so it's better for seller to freely choose the carrier. On the other hand, the buyer has information about transportation from the destination port to the buyer's premise. Choosing CFR is convenient for both parties. So why we use CFR and not CIF? Under CFR, insurance is not mandatory. The both parties are free to negotiate whether to buy insurance for the cargo. Insurance is not mentioned in the contract, which means both parties, especially the buyers, are free to buy any insurance suitable for the cargo. About the loading port, we can use any port in China. CFR should allow the seller to freely choose the loading port. Just Resource Limited choose Port of Shanghai, China, as it is geographically convenient to transport the goods from the seller's premise to. Unloading port, Chittagong, Bangladesh. The parties agreed to choose Port Chittagong, Bangladesh as the unloading port. The buyer chose this destination port for easier transportation to the buyer's premise. Initial time of shipment, April 20, 2022. The specific exact time of shipment is not favorable for the seller, and the seller has to deliver the goods on exact day, no sooner or later. This contract is either an emergency one, or the seller has absolute trust in his ability to deliver goods on this exact day, and this allows partial shipment and chance shipment. About the payment, we use irrevocable and unrestricted LC side. The LC is prioritized to be opened on February 23, 2022 by the buyer in a format and by a first-class bank acceptable to the seller. LC application should be faxed to be beneficiary Just Resource Limited for approval. Third-party documents and shipment effected prior to LC insurance date are acceptable. The quantity and total amount are allowed to be more or less than the agreed one by 5%. The seller must send the packing list to the buyer for quality check. The commercial invoice, including the order value and payment shipment terms, as well as bill of lading for ocean transportation. The LC was opened by the Premier Bank Limited, Islami Banking Branch, Mokhakali, Dhaka, Bangladesh on February 22, 2022. The advising bank is China Construction Bank, Jiaxing Branch, Jiaxing, China. In the LC, it is stated that the latest shipping date is May 1, 2022, with the date of expiry being 3 weeks later. Why LC? The goods are of high value, over $140,000 and are shipped by sea. In this case, the seller is guaranteed to be paid as soon as the seller completed its transportation duties, which protect the seller from late or non-payment from the buyer. The goods are packed in 25 kg bags each, with a total of 4,000 bags, which are divided evenly among containers. The gross weight of the commodity is 10,240 kilograms. Country of origin has been mentioned in each package. The packing list provided by the seller certifies that packing is seaworthy export standard. Force majeure. When the buyer carries out the shipment of the goods, there might be some majeures causing the performance to be prevented or delayed. Export prohibition, flood, typhoon, fire, armed conflict, civil commotion, strike or other labor disputes, severe economic dislocation, indirect peril, manufacturer's bankruptcy, or any causes that are out of the reasonable control of the seller. If any of the measures happens, the seller shall not be liable for the non-performance of the contract, no or late shipment, and the buyer shall accept any shipment made within the reasonable time or even the cancellation of the contract at the seller's option. Any claim by the buyer shall be notified to the seller within 20 days after the goods have been arrived at the destination port. About the other terms and conditions, if the buyer is unable to open the LC or pay the money as stipulated in the contract, they must pay 15% of total value of the contract to the buyer as compensation for liquidated damages. The contract is made out in Chinese and English, with both versions being equally authentic. Should there be any discrepancies between two versions, the Chinese version should prevail. This proves the superiority of the Chinese seller in resolving any discrepancies arising from this contract, as the seller has advantages in interpreting the contract articles in his favor. Settlement of this agreement. Shanghai International Economic and Trade Arbitration Commission for arbitration. If any dispute arises that cannot be resolved through friendly negotiation, the seller has advantages in conducting the arbitration processes. Now we move to see how this contract is implemented. Step 1. The buyer made an inquiry on the seller's product to know the quantity of available product, the price, and the terms of delivery. The two parties then negotiated contract terms before signing the contract. Step 2. After the contract signing, the seller prepare the goods, check their quality, and then package them based on terms agreed in the contract, waiting for the LC from the agreed issuing bank before shipping the goods to Shanghai port according to the BL. Step 3. Implementing the export procedure. After preparing the goods, the seller is responsible for carrying the goods onto the ship according to the CFR. To be specific, the seller must truck the goods and bring them to the Shanghai port. The goods are then loaded onto the Asian vessel, booked by the seller. More details are mentioned in Clause 19 of the BL. In terms of the buyer, after signing the contract, they paid the money to the issuing bank, the Premier Bank Limited Islami Banking Branch in Bangladesh, and opened the LC application in order to get the required documents. After that, they used these documents to get the shipped goods from the seller and completed the transaction. After receiving the LC from the issuing bank, the seller began to ship the goods to the buyer. According to the contract, the goods are supposed to be shipped to the Shanghai port on April 30. However, due to a force majeure, the process has been delayed till July, which was agreed by both the seller and buyer. In order to implement the contract properly, some documents needed to prepare and agree by both parties. So what are they? And what are the roles of these documents? Let's find out. About the related documents, we have the first one, commercial invoice. A commercial invoice is a document used as a custom declaration provided by the person or corporation exporting an item across international borders. It must include the parties involved in the shipping transaction, the goods being transported, the country of manufacture, and the HS code for those goods. Especially a commercial invoice must include a certifying statement as well as a signature. The second document, the packing list. The packing list provides information about the goods, including the name of the commodity, quantity and quality, total weight and number of packages, and any details about goods handling. The document number 3, letter of credit. The letter of credit, or LC, is a letter from a bank guaranteeing that the buyer's payment to the seller will be received on time and for the correct amount. In this case, firstly, the buyer paid the amount to the issuer bank, the Premier Bank Islami Banking Branch, and opened the LC application to them. This bank then sent the LC to the seller through a negotiating bank. After receiving the seller then began the goods shipment and sent required documents to the issuing bank via the negotiating bank, who then confirmed the documents and obtained payment from the buyer. This document was sent to the buyer who used them to get possession of the shipped good. The latest shipment date is agreed to be on May 1st, while the expiry date for the LC is May 22nd. About the contract modification, as we have mentioned previously, the contract implementation has been delayed for 2 months due to a force majeure. So what happened? After the contract has been legally signed, the buyer made an inquiry to the seller about some modification of the contract, especially the date of delivery. To do so, the buyer made contact with the seller at the earliest time possible to negotiate about the contract modification. Once both parties reached an agreement, the buyer sent a contract amendment to the seller through fax to notify the seller about the change in written form. The seller thus delayed the delivery till the modified date of delivery. In this contract from April 30, 2020 to July 30, 2020 latest. There are some documents related to the modification of the contract. First one, contract amendment. A contract amendment allows the parties to make a mutually agreed upon change to an existing contract. An amendment can add to an existing contract, delete from it, or change part of it. The original contract remains in place, only with some terms altered by ways of amendment. In this case, only the date of delivery was modified from April 30, 2022 to July 30, 2022 latest. LC amendment. The buyer submitted an application form for LC amendment to the LC issuing bank. In this case, the Premier Bank Limited Islamic Banking Branch, Bangladesh. The issuing bank then instructed China Construction Bank, Chongqing Branch, Chongqing China, the advising bank, to amend the LC. Finally, on July 8, 2022, the seller received the advice for LC amendment, which contained any amendments in terms and conditions to the original LC. Third one, certificate of origin. A certificate of origin, or CO, is a document declaring in which company a commodity or good was manufactured. The certificate of origin contains information regarding the product, its destination, and the country of export. It is an important form because it can help determine whether certain goods are eligible for import or whether goods are subject to duties. The next document, bill of lading. A bill of lading, BL or BOL, is a legal document issued by a carrier transportation company to a shipper that details the type, quantity, and destination of the goods being carried. This document must accompany the shipped product, no matter the form of transportation, and must be signed by the authorized representative from the carrier, shipper, and receiver. The goods were shipped on board on July 8, 2022, and the BL was issued 1 day later with 3 original copies. And the next document is shipment advice. Once after the seller's delivery duties, the seller sent the shipment advice to the buyer through email, which contain details about the shipment. From this point, the risk of goods transfer from the seller to the buyer. The last one, beneficiary certificate. The seller then certified completion of its responsibility in the contract, including having dispatched documents to the buyer, having complied all terms and conditions of the credit with the LC, mentioning country of origin on each packages, and confirm that any shipments and transshipment is affected by companies honoring Bangladesh laws and regulations regarding vessels flags, seaports, shipments, and transshipment. This video has well showcased a transaction on exporting resin beds between 2 companies in Hong Kong and Bangladesh. We hope that all of you enjoy this and find our video useful for your studying. Thanks for watching.